Good afternoon. Hello. I would like to welcome everybody to today's Sports Pavilion meeting. It's nice to see so many people. This is definitely the most well-attended meeting we've had. First off, I'd like to ask that if you haven't already done so, would you please silent your cell phones? That would really be beneficial during the meeting. So without further ado, we are going to move right into the meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we have a quorum as all of our committee members are here, and we also have a special committee member here today. Mr. Hurley is here.
Good afternoon. Let me just explain my presence here. As the president of the governing board, I am an ex officio member of every committee that we have. Ex officio just means because of the nature of my position. And because this has been so blown out of proportion, I decided I would come here and explain what the heck we're trying to do, okay? Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Tim. So we'll move on to agenda item 2.01 with the minutes from April. If there are no additions, corrections, Karen will just enter the minutes. Thank you. With 3.01, we'll have the manager's report from the Sports Pavilion. Greg, are you ready with that?
I think so.
Thank you.
Okay, so April 23, 19,792 for league bowling revenue. Compared to 2022, we're down about 781. Pretty much that's from leagues ending at different times. And we had the water main break and just had some leagues end at different times. Open bowling revenue is actually up 264. Miscellaneous revenue down 1273. The big difference there is we had a red pin event that was April 1st, but the book was out for 3/28 and everything was rang in before the end of the month, so the revenue went to the prior month. Food and beverage revenue is up $1,165. Non-bowling revenue is down. That's the restaurant likes to pay their rent ahead because they know the summer months are slow, so they paid it 1 year in March and the next year in April. That's a big difference there. Bowling lineage is actually down about 474 games, and that's split pretty much between open bowling and league bowling. Lizard Acres is pretty flat, 18,517 to 18,853. The pub continues to go over well. Everybody's happy Friday nights, and we're actually booked all the way through the end of July.
Super. Thank you, Greg. So really the only question that I have with Lizard Acres, and we're seeing a little bit of a deficiency there, do we think that that's just because of the adjustment in hours at all? Okay, super. Thank you. Does the committee have any questions for Greg? Okay, thank you. We will. Thank you. Cliff, oh, you're already there. Thank you. I was looking in your seat for you, so thank you. Cliff Swan is our CFO. He will give the March Sports Pavilion P&L.
Thank you, Ms. Vines. And I'm jealous we don't get this much crowd at our BNF meetings. So anyway, another thing is I'd like to thank Greg Moran for stepping in for Barry while he's out. Really appreciate all the hard work he's doing, and he cares about this community. He does a good job, so we're thankful for that. I'm going to go through the March financials. Some of the information on here is going to be, might seem like it contradicts what Ms. Moran just presented, but he's presenting the operations report for April. So this is March, just to clarify. So digging into the numbers, March year to date, compared to budget, we are favorable by $77,000 in revenue. Looking at our summary of expenses, March year-to-date actual compared to budget, we're 50,000 unfavorable on the expense side, mainly due to two events that were kind of unforeseen. One in the salaries, wages, and benefits area. In terms of minimum wage, some things happened with minimum wage that we weren't fully prepared for year over year. And so that's impacted in there, as well as our health insurance costs came in higher than we had budgeted. Please don't pay attention to the March budget year-to-date number at the very bottom. That's a very scary number, 666. That wasn't planned. Okay. Looking at the income from operations, with the two categories we talked about, the revenue and expense, we're still favorable, 26,000 in the Sports Pavilion. Now, taking a look at prior year to date, we are favorable on the revenue line item of 76,000, and versus prior year, 75,000 in costs over prior year, with a versus prior year 1,000 favorable in the operating cash inflow. Some events compared to prior year is league revenue is up 54,000. Promotional is down 11,000, and open bowling is favorable by 9,000. Those are kind of the highlights there. Overall revenue growth is 9%. Looking at our bowling lineage, we've got roughly 1,800 more lines of bowling this year over prior year, and our bowling per lines increase is 8%. And then on the expense line items, we had a pin purchase this year for 12,000 for new bowling pins. And that's all for the March financials.
Thank you, Cliff. Does the committee have any questions for Cliff? No? Okay. Let me see if anybody, does the audience have any questions for Cliff? Cliff, I guess you are off the hook today.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, we are going to move on to 4.01, Sports Pavilion Age Restriction Clarification. Tim, you're up.
If you're coming here to think that we're going to change the age restriction, I'm sorry, but you've been misled by social media. We are not. As a planned community, Sun City West is allowed to be an age-restricted community under the Fair Housing Act, Federal Act, and also under Arizona statute. But in order to maintain that age restriction, there are certain things that we have to do. One is that the organization has to have written policies limiting the age of people that can come in. Next, they have to be enforced, okay? You can't just have them in writing, they actually have to be enforced. And third, they have to be actively advertised to prospective owners, okay? Sun City West does this, we will continue to do this, and nothing has changed. The only thing that we're really trying to do here today is that as we've gone through the policies on our guest policies and on the bowling policies, we need to add a few phrases to the bowling policy. And they come from a policy FA8. And basically FA8 says that guests must be checked in by a card holder, visibly showing their card when they come in. That will continue. There's also a stipulation that if a person is not able physically to come to the facility to do, to do that, that they can present, the policy says a waive letter, which is a misnomer. What they can do is get a medical guest pass through membership, and that will allow their guests to come in and show the member guest pass. So that's what we're going to do. The other thing is, the policy FA8 says that any guest under 16 and under must be accompanied by a responsible adult, okay? Nowhere in the bowling policies does it say that, and we need to add that to the bowling policies. So if you have a guest that's under 16, you have your grandchildren or something in here, and you come in and they want to bowl, and a responsible adult has to stay with them, okay? That's really all we're trying to do. The policies on bowling leagues will stay the same. Outside players, if you're from a neighboring community and you're 45 years or older, you can join a league, you can be in the tournaments, you can do all the things that you normally can do. The only thing that we're trying to do is tighten up the restriction of letting underage people come into the bowling alley. We have had some incidents where parents come in and bring their kids in and check them in for bowling, and then they want to go do shopping or things like that, and they leave the kids unattended. And that's created some problems, and that's not what we're going to allow. Okay? So basically all we're trying to do is make the bowling policies coincide with the FA8, which basically says that you have to show a card to check people in, and anyone 16 and under must be accompanied by a responsible adult. Okay? All in a nutshell, that's all we're trying to do. So if you were brought here for a reason other than that, I apologize, but it is nice to see everybody here. Okay? All right, I'm sure there's going to be questions. If you want to come up to the stand up here, give us your name. Oh, I'm sorry, let's let the committee ask first. Any questions from the committee about this? No. Okay. Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so the one question that I was asked by multiple people was, with the 45 age, is it going to affect the current leagues that are leagues of age 50?
Now, what the 45 age limit was designed to do was to allow our other age-restricted communities in the area to come in. Grand has an age restriction at 45.
Right.
So that's where the 45 year came from, to allow people from Grand to come over and participate in our leagues.
Great, thank you, Tim.
I have one question.
Sure, go ahead, Jim.
16 and under must be accompanied by a Sun City West resident or responsible adult. What about open bowling for anybody else coming in? Do they have to be 45 years of age?
Yes.
In other words, either you're with a Sun City West resident, one way or the other, or you're 45 years or old.
Correct.
So,
And that is one of the policies.
okay,
That's policy B02.
okay. Because I remember last meeting we discussed an age limit of like, what was it, 18, I think Barry said, that they had to be 18 years old to come into open bowling from outside.
Well, I think what brought the confusion on was at the last meeting, the general manager brought the subject up that it did not coincide with FA8, and he was just looking for some synchronization across all of our policies to allow for how old people have to be before they are allowed in, and whether or not they're accompanied.
So in other words, anybody that's less than 45 years old has to be at least brought in by a Sun City West resident.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, if there's any questions, would you come up to the microphone, please? Give us your name and rec number.
Okay, we need to really keep the talking amongst yourselves down
over here,
because
over
we
here.
can't hear what's being said.
This one?
No, the other one, please.
Oh, that one. Oh, I don't get the big podium?
Thank you. There's also a clipboard there for your rec card number.
Okay, my name is April Sleva, and I'm a resident, and I've bowled for many years. So when you're talking,
Rec number, please.
133154.
Thank you.
When you're talking about a responsible adult, 16 and lower, they have to be with a responsible adult at all times. So if the parents come in, bring in their kids, they want to go shopping, there's a 17-year-old kid with them, they can leave the kids there to bowl at 17 and under. Because the 17-year-old, what's your classification as a responsible adult? What's your definition?
Great question. Great question. One of the discussion topics is, for this committee and for the other committees, is what age should be a responsible adult? 45.
Well, that's
That is a
actually,
great question.
well, that's actually why we moved here, is not to have young adults here at a bowling alley running around with the 17-year-old as the responsible adult, and then the friend comes with them, with the family. Then you have how many kids running around with no responsible adult in our eyes?
That is not what we want to have happen.
But isn't that what's happening now? If, during open bowl?
It shouldn't be.
Okay, please, while she's at the podium speaking, we need to not have other talking. Thank
So
you.
the definition of responsible adult as far as the board or the committee is what?
Well, that's a topic for discussion that's going to have to be discussed.
Okay.
The other topic to be discussed is what exactly is a neighboring community? I mean, is it the age restriction communities, Sun City West?
Sun City Grand.
Sun City Grand, and those
Sun
type of
City.
things? Or does it extend further on out? And those are questions, in order to really nail down the policy, those questions need to be answered.
Because my concern is if we have 17 as a responsible adult, that's going to open the door for all kinds of young adults to come in and go open bowl with speeding and coming through our community, which they already do anyway, to take shortcuts.
Well, even if they're 17, they have to be checked in by a member,
Yep.
a card holder.
Yeah, okay. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Your,
Thank you.
your responsible adult would be the card holder. They would be responsible even though it was a 17-year-old, because they're signing them in.
Okay. So somebody right now can't come in from Surprise to open bowl with a member, and then that member can leave and leave them there.
That is not supposed to be happening.
No.
Okay.
My name is Paul Bax, 124321.
Thank you.
I would propose that the wording, instead of responsible adults, which is really kind of loosey-goosey and, you can almost interpret it any way you want. If a resident member wants to bring the under 16-year-olds to golf or to bowl, use any of the facilities, just make it plain and simple that that resident member must be with them all the time. I mean, this is not a kids community. It's an adult community. And once you get on the slippery slope of making an exception, you open it up to just more and more picky, and pretty soon we're not going to have a 55 or older community anymore. So I would say just write the rules that the member has to be present with the children. That's all. It's
Okay.
simple.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please, really, if you want to speak and say your comments, come to
My
the
name is
podium.
Lyle Vogt, 133506. These two prior speakers suggested that you do certain things to facilitate what they just said. What can you do to facilitate that? In other words, can you vote on that? Can you make part of the laws of the community? How will that take place? Because I think they both had good ideas to
Right.
restrict the age under such an age.
Right.
And what responsibility is, you know what I'm saying?
Sure. And I'll tell you the procedure. The Sports Pavilion and Bowling Committee will talk, and not necessarily just at this meeting, but we'll talk and come up with a recommendation that goes to the governing board. The governing board at a regular meeting will then vote on that, and they will vote on a policy that encapsulates what that recommendation is. And once that policy is passed, it's up to the general manager and his staff to enforce it.
Okay. So you're not necessarily the governing board, you're a different.
This is
I'm new to the community, 3 years.
This is a standing committee of the governing board.
Okay.
That
All right.
covers the area of the sports pavilion and bowling.
Thank
We
you.
also have 4 other committees, one for golf,
Okay.
one for properties, one for charter clubs, and one for budget and finance.
Okay.
And they are all recommendation bodies that recommend to the governing board.
So then you're a recommendation body, which will recommend what we just talked about here to the overseeing board.
Right.
Thank you.
My name is James Shearer, and my rec number is 102590. And you can have discussions about age here every day of the week. I've been here 20 years, and when I bought my house, I was 51. I wasn't allowed to utilize any of the rec facilities until I was 55. The day we turned 55 was a Friday. We came proudly to get our rec cards after paying for 4 years for rec fees, and they turned us down. You can't get a rec card on a Friday because no one's here to process it on the weekend, come back on Monday. That's how strict they were 20 years ago. Now I've got a 7 and an 8-year-old living down the street from me that go to school every morning. I've got a 40-year-old that lives next door to me that they can't get the property cleaned up. So this is a very slippery slope. When you put 16, 17-year-olds in charge of each other in a public facility like we enjoy, you're asking for a lot of trouble. There's parked cars outside that could be damaged. There's women with purses that could be intimidated. I think you're crazy to let 17-year-olds be in charge of themselves in our community.
Well, just to be clear, nobody's saying that 17-year-olds will. Okay, the discussion point is what is a reasonable adult? And what I'm hearing from up here is a reasonable adult is the owner member, the card holder that checks those people in.
Checking them in and dropping them off. Then who's in charge of them? The lady in lane 3?
No.
Who's in charge of them after they check them in?
We already have a policy, FA8, that says anyone 16 and under must be continuously accompanied by a responsible adult.
Okay.
Order.
My name is Bill Pav, 109950. I had worked at the bowling alley for 12 years, okay, but Sports Pavilion, to my knowledge, if the things are enforced, there has not been any problems. The problem is, like that, we do things differently at different places. What do you do at the pool? People come in, they check their adult kids in, 30 years old, 40 years old, bring the kids that are 15 or 16, and they let them in. So if you're going to talk about age, you have to figure out what you're going to do community-wide. There's never been a problem with a 45 or older in the bowling alley for the 12 years that I worked there.
That's exactly what we're trying to do.
Okay. That's all you have to do. When someone calls, you tell them this is an age-restricted community. Someone in the group must be 45 or older.
Right,
45 can't come in, drop a kid off, and go shop.
exactly.
If they're not a community member, they have to do the kid. They have to stay with the kid. What you have to figure out, though, is you have 75 and 80 and 85-year-old people that reside here in the community. They aren't going to stay with the kids when they go to the pool. If they don't now, they never will. And you'll have more complaints than you can handle if you do that. So you have to figure out something that you're going to do community-wide. And it has to be an age limit that, 17 is not a responsible adult. That's a given.
I think we have consensus on that.
But when you start getting 21, 22, okay, they've got all the rights, whatever, but somewhere you have to do something that's community-wide.
That's why we're broaching the subject. And in
Okay.
fact, part of this discussion was started because some of the folks at the bowling alley were having these type of issues and asked for clarification. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, I had to quit in January like that for medical issues on the thing. Last 12 years like that, didn't have a problem every day that I worked there.
Okay.
I can't say for sure about the other monitors, but that's the way it should go.
Thank you.
Jolene Piaskowski, 132268. So my question is, if you had 3 18-year-olds from a resident and they dropped them off at the bowling alley and they checked them in, is that okay?
So we're trying to figure out.
I mean, because that happens on spring break, right? College spring break, everyone comes see grandma and grandpa. I'm just out. So when we're talking age, we really need to make sure, like the others that have spoke, that they stay with their guest.
Right.
And whether this gentleman just made the point that they have to stay at the pool or bocce ball, everything else, I don't know about that. But for us to change the restriction at bowling could be a problem.
We're not changing the restriction at bowling.
Okay, great.
Any other questions? Certainly comments, come on.
Joseph Generoso, 124928. Basically, the problem that I see here, they're dropping everybody off. They have to stay with the children. I see it at the pool. They drop them off, they leave, the children there from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock all by themselves, splashing, jumping, doing anything they want to do. Basically, if we don't have somebody stay with the children, we're going to have a problem. It has to be that you're going to come in, you have to stay with your children, or with the people that you bring in, you have to stay there.
We agree. There's no use having a policy if it's not being enforced.
Actually, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mark Schwerman, 138812. We just recently moved here. I am young, just like the other person said, I'm just barely old enough to be in here. But when we came here, like the pool center, just like the other gentleman said, is we were told that we can get a pass. We have 40-year-old kids, they have their kids. So to me, a responsible person, for me being here or my wife being here, we should not have to be at the pool or the bowling alley if we get a pass for our children who are 40 and take their kids to the rec center, the pool, or the bowling alley, or anything like that.
Okay, let's clarify what the pass is. The pass is actually the guest fee that you get.
Mhm.
And once you pay for it and you get that receipt will allow you to go to other facilities in the community.
Right.
Okay? It's not a pass that lets you go leave and just leave your kids there. Okay, so let's just clarify what that is. That's actually the guest fee that's getting paid.
Okay, but still, with this area, responsible adults, I should not have to come here, and if my kids, my 40-year-old son, Marine, responsible, I should not have to go to the pool, the bowling alley, or anything, and be with him if he's spending a week or two with me. I should be able to have him have that, whatever it is, a pass, He is my son. He is a family relative. He should be able to attend these things in there because he is a guest of the community.
Okay, let's just clarify something. You still have to go to the facility and check him in.
Yes,
Right.
I already, the
Okay.
part of,
And even if you check him in at the pool and he comes somewhere else, not lawn bowling, but mini golf or things like that, you still have to go with him there. Okay, you can't just give him a pass, check him in one facility and leave him.
that
and
was
have
not
him-
what was explained to us when we came here at the pool center. That was,
All
that
right.
was not what was explained to us
The,
when we
the
joined.
general manager is telling me that I misquoted. So would you stand up and give it?
Bill, can you come to the podium, please?
Shall we take a vote on that?
Right on. Thank you. All right. Within our document that we give new guests, there's a page in the book called Underage Visitors. And it's kind of very confusing, back to your point.
Okay.
There are general rules, policies that Mr. Hurley has talked about, but we regulate various things throughout the community, whether it's bowling, whether it's fitness centers, our hot tubs, mini golf, swimming pools, our library, and billiards. I didn't know until we studied this further that you have to be 52 inches. Who is walking around with that stick? And so I would think a responsible adult should have the ability to play billiards if they want to. We have employees that are less than 52 inches tall, believe it or not, and I don't want to tell them they can't play pool. So we're looking for a policy that works. And what we're finding is a little bit of discrepancy. And so I think Greg can maybe attest to the outside play that we see at the Sports Pavilion, I would say is relatively minimal. We are dominated by league play, and outside play is a fraction of what we offer in that facility. So we're not really going to be overrun with outside folks. But the fact remains that they do show up. And they have every right to play the game if they're not in a league, and we have open bowling. So who can play in open bowling? And so we have some discretionary policies that we have, not discretionary, but we do have policies that we have that deal with age.
Question I was going to ask is, to his question was, do we really want to tell a 40-year-old Marine, I think he said, my God, you can go fight for your country, but you can't stay in our bowling alley without your father as a responsible adult?
Well,
Sorry.
everything that we do, though, we're looking at coming into the bowling, right?
Right.
And if you are coming in and paying, we're just taking the flight or the cash for paying for that. And in golf, we're doing the same thing, right? We're not having anyone to be on someone else when you go play golf. If you don't live here, and we picked up about $2 million a year for people getting their tee shot times on
Right. in
the golf that do not live here.
Right.
And so
So I think the big question is, can we define responsible adult? What is the age of a responsible adult? That's the big question, right? The $1 million question?
Well, it definitely has to be a
Right?
minimum of 18.
that's basically it.
Minimum of
Sorry?
18.
I'm sorry?
It has to be the minimum of 18.
I don't know.
Because that's legal. Because if anything happens, they have to be at a point. I'm not saying to make it 18, but that has to be the bare minimum is 18. Because if anything happens, you have to have legal precedent against them.
Oh, correct. But right now, we're at 45.
Yeah.
Correct? 45?
45 resident.
45.
45, right. So I think we have, that's the
45 is the age for outside
outside.
players from neighboring communities to come in.
Yet to be determined as
Right,
well.
but that's
Right.
different than a responsible adult.
Right.
Right. So
So,
I'm not sure. Everything else is about a 16,
right.
right? To go swimming, everybody be covered, right? You're gonna have a guest, someone with you at all times. After that, it's open.
Right.
But on two areas, basically golf and bowling, we open that up to the public. And that is open for any and all to use. And it's not a 45, the way we read it, the 45 was the age to get into bowling leagues.
It's also for open bowling.
As far as
45 or older from
For
a
open
neighboring
bowl.
community.
so if you're coming in on a Saturday afternoon and you're 35 years old, you can't bowl.
Right. I think that's the way the policy reads now,
Yes,
correct?
correct.
Correct.
Okay. So if your mother lives here
Your mother can come
and check you in,
check you in.
and if they're sick and can't get in, basically there's a form that they fill out and
Medical guest
off we
pass.
go.
Right.
Right?
Right. I'm just
Okay.
saying
So
that
just-
currently that's the way the rule reads, the
Right.
policy, right? I don't know.
So I don't
What
know if
the
there's
answer is.
much on that. Which is that? Is that BO8, BO2 that talks about that?
BO2 is senior non-resident golfing,
Okay,
or bowling. Sorry, I'm a golfer.
okay. So basically, non-residents are defined as those individuals 45 years of age.
BO2 3.3, I think it is.
Okay.
Right. No, is that right, Tim?
Senior non-residents are
1.2.
defined as those individuals 45 years and older living in a neighboring community as designated by the general manager.
Okay. And so that is just not the same with golf.
Right, right. And golf is, then we would be looking at GO2 and what that policy says, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one other question real
Sure.
quick, and I don't know if it applies to this group. The bowling leagues here are all set to make their own guidelines of how the leagues are set up and mandatory weeks of bowling and who pays and stuff like that. Is that correct?
Greg, can you answer that?
Yeah, bowling leagues can have their own rules. They do decide their own rules. They can have age limits. We set a fee minimum for our lineage. They have prize funds, so that's going to make a difference in how much it costs to bowl in the league, depending on the group as they decide how much goes to the prize fund.
Okay, thank you.
So April Sleva again, 133154. So did I just hear from Bill that we open our centers to the public?
No, you did not hear that.
So what was he talking about then as far as being able to golf from outside communities, come in and just golf?
Well,
Or open bowl?
there's two things. There's a policy that says that the general manager can make rules for outside participation in bowling, and another one that says for golf.
And the general manager is,
Mr. Schwind.
Mr. Schwinn?
so he can make the rules and regulation on that portion of it for everybody in the community, that we can let the public in here
No.
to use the golf course or to open bowl.
Well, you have to draw the distinction between facilities that we have that are, FHA calls it indiscriminately open to the public, okay, which is golf is, and which is bowling is. But we can make rules, since we're an age-restricted community, on what the age should be. And we do have ages for golf. If you're under 16, you have to be accompanied by a member, just like bowling. Okay, you cannot rent a golf cart if you're 16, even if you have a driver's license. So there's rules that affect that. But there is no move any way, anyhow, to allow the public to come in and use our facilities.
Okay, even if they say like a school wants to rent the bowling alley.
Actually, there's a policy that says for outside tournaments and things like that, that the Sports Pavilion manager does have the ability, with the approval of the general manager, to make those arrangements. Yes.
Correct.
So I'm wondering why we're paying such high fees when we're allowing them to come in and make revenue for that particular area of use, and we're not seeing any reciprocating reductions for renting those sorts of things out. I did not move to this community for it to be ran by allowing the public to come and use the facilities.
The very first policy says that Sun City resident card holders have priority over any outside event, any outside person.
So
Same with golf.
So
Sun
if
City
it's-
West golfers have priority over outside golfers.
Okay, and that includes neighboring communities?
Yes.
And if it's not immediately rented or used during those time periods for something, then we can rent out for a tournament.
Yes.
And where does that money go from the tournament? Does it go into the general fund? Does it go into a sports fund? Does it go into, I'm just curious because,
Any revenue from the bowling alley goes into the general fund.
General fund.
and that general fund is used for all operations.
Operational expenses, correct.
And including salaries.
Correct.
Oh, my.
124,928. What she was talking about has been going on since 2010. I live in a golf course. We've been having people coming in since 2010, outsiders, to golf. Because we don't have enough residents. We're too old to golf, so therefore they bring in outside people to keep up with the revenue. But it's been going on. Building just bring this up. This has been going on since 2010 or even prior to that. And that's all I got to say. But she was wrong in what she was saying. I don't trying to start an argument, but this has been going on for a long time, just to bring the revenues up.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. If there aren't any more questions, we're going to move on. Oops, somebody's on the move. Are you coming to the podium? Okay.
Mary Gainett, 133-113. Listening to the meeting last time, I totally heard something different than what I'm hearing today. Because last time it seemed like they were saying 18-year-olds could come in off the street and bowl. Wasn't that discussed? That policy changed last year from 45?
No, Barry Hardesty, who runs the bowling alley, he said his policy was 18 years or older in order to come in off the street and open bowl. That's what he was doing. We were discussing whether we needed to change that, which we're really getting into now.
So
But
can they come in at
The
18?
existing policy was by Barry, 18.
So right now it says 18, he's letting people in at 18 or no?
No, the policy is 45.
Now the
Okay.
policy is 45.
Because
but-
that's totally different than what was being
Right.
said.
Yeah.
There is no policy that says 18. The manager was just allowing that, the Sports Pavilion
Okay,
manager.
so he's going to start following the policy?
Correct.
Okay. And when we keep bringing up what's a reasonable age, Tim, you keep saying they're going to talk about that. Why don't we talk about it now when people are here and decide that? Why talk about it later?
Well, it's going to be a decision of the governing board, but tell us what you think.
Well, I think if people are 55 and have to be 55 to live here, if they have children, they're probably around 35. That would be a good age.
So the question is, where do you draw the line?
35 is my suggestion.
35, 25, 45?
35 is my suggestion. That way their kids can come in.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mary.
Is anybody agree, disagree on the board? What do we think?
Well, let's clarify, because this is not a board, this is a committee, the
Right,
Sports Pavilion
and is
Committee.
the
So this
committee-
committee can only make recommendations to the board.
Right, so we
And-
want to talk about what you're going to
Sure.
recommend.
Right, okay.
So what do we think about 35? As
The board has,
of
the committee
pavilion.
hasn't even been able to discuss anything. This is the first time it's being brought up.
So you want to talk about it when we're not here?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it just now, literally, so the committee members, I mean.
No, I'm saying let's talk about 35. What do
Yeah.
we think?
So-
You're not Tim, the bowling
The
committee. I mean, the pavilion committee, I'd like to hear from
Do you want me
everyone.
to poll the bowling
Yeah,
committee? Okay,
please.
give me 1 second. Allow me 1 second, because as the committee chair, give me 1 second. Tim
I'm just
Tim is
saying,
actually not the committee
It's
chair.
something, right, that's why I'm saying, because Tim, I understand.
I know, although he's acting like it today, it's okay, give me 1 second. And now, Bill, are you coming back to the podium?
I'd
So
like to.
I think I have no control over this meeting.
It's not out of control.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, here's what we're trying to fix. Let me just share with you one thing. Relative to golf, right? We
I'm
kind of know.
not talking about golf. I
know
don't care
that,
about golf.
I know that, but we deal with a lot of people and underage guests coming in.
Okay, and
So
that's,
we're
I'm
trying
talking
to
about
mend-
bowling.
Time out. We're trying to mend this fence, right? So we know what we're doing at swimming pools, right? You got to be 16 years old, as Tim was talking about, right? So 16 years old, and you must be accompanied at all times by an owner member. What our rules say as far as underage visitors relative to golf, it says children may play golf when they demonstrate the satisfaction to the starter, then they understand the rules of the game and can negotiate and play without disturbing the play of other members. Children may not play during the weekly club play, and they must be 18 years of age, right? With a valid driver's license to operate a golf cart. So if you are 16 years or
I
older,
know that.
right, and you want to play golf with or without an owner member, you have an opportunity to pay for a green fee and play.
That's golf.
16 to 100 years old, if you don't live here, you can play golf. That generates about $2 million for us, and that's important. So it's a $2 million problem. If we cut
It's
off
not-
people, hang on.
golf, you're talking about golf. It's not a $2 million problem for bowling. We're talking about bowling.
We are. And let me tell you what the rules are here that talks about bowling. Children may bowl at the R.H. Johnson Sports Pavilion if they can safely handle a bowling ball.
Okay,
That's what it says.
okay. And that's
So-
the other thing I was going to say. Not only do they need to come up with the up age, they need to come up with the lower age. What
Right.
the age is at, and a number, not a height or anything, an age number.
So recently, I brought to Tim's attention that during spring break, there were some relatives who came to visit their parents who live here. Several groups of people. And they looked at our schedule, they found out when open bowling was, and they came into the facility, 35-year-old individual with 10 or 11-year-old kids. And he was escorted out of the facility because he was not 45 years old. The owner member that lives here was unable to come in and sign him in, but had difficulty doing that. So we heard that story, and we heard the complaint thereof. Golf allows people over 16 years of age to call up, make a tee time, and play. They do not have to be accompanied or babysat by an owner member. The difference with golf is owner members get an advancement in the times that they can make tee times. So they get the prime time spots. So any open spaces on our tee sheets, we feel are worth a lot of money to us if
I'm
we
not
can get
arguing
people
about
to play.
golf.
I get that. So we do that. Bowling, kind of the same thing. If there's an open space, which are very minimal because of all the leagues that we do, but if someone wants to come down and play a game of bowling, what we're trying to figure out is what are our policies on that, and we're struggling with that. As of right now, some of our staff, Barry's not here to speak for himself, but we've had this conversation, 45 years and over is written in a policy, but we're told that has to do with leagues, not open play. And so we're trying to get clarity on that. And so what is the magic number? I don't know.
That's what we want to talk about right now.
Exactly. And so what is that? I don't know. What is a responsible adult? I don't know.
I'm proposing 35.
I've seen responsible 16-year-olds and I've seen irresponsible 90-year-olds. So
Right.
pick a number. So that's what we're really up against, is we're trying to come up with something so that when we produce these types of this information to people, it's very, very clear as to what the policy is. I'll leave it at that. No age for a responsible adult.
I agree with that.
There is no age limit.
But you also need to put a number to it, though.
Right.
It's almost impossible.
but we have to.
You need to put a number to that, a reasonable age. You can't just say a reasonable age and leave it vague like that.
Okay, I think we have somebody behind
I'm
you
not
waiting to
done.
speak.
Are we, I was gonna ask
Yeah,
everybody.
but that's my job to poll the committee, and I'd like to hear
Are
what.
you gonna do it before we leave today?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I
have
promise
another-
you, I promise you I will.
I have one other thing I wanted to
Okay,
bring up.
okay, thank you. Go ahead.
On another subject, I would propose that any of these types of meetings are on YouTube,
They are.
the governing board, all the committees
They
and
are.
such. When somebody is at home and is ill or for whatever reason cannot attend, and they type in a comment, I would like it to be read to the board and answered at the time, not an email sent later, okay? Because we want to hear from those people as well. They have some pretty good ideas, and they're just as capable.
Thank you. Thank you. Tim will address that. Thank you.
I'm sorry, one more thing, April Sleva, 133-154. So if we open up that age limit for the bowlers to be 16 or anything above 16, because that's the way golf is now, I foresee happening that other clubs or other facilities get open to the public as well, which is that what everybody wants? So this is what everybody's basically ranting and raving about is if you're open to bowling for that and golf for that, then we might as well open all facilities, just ignore our club fees and let the public pay for them.
No one is suggesting
Yeah,
that.
no one is suggesting that.
This is a senior community,
Right.
and it should stay senior
Correct.
as much as possible. Now, I'm a golfer, now quit because of physical disabilities, but I understand the golfing. I mean, that's like building future golfers and future members for golfing. But I just have a problem with bringing in the public to be able to use the facilities. Grandkids are a different story. You're signing them in. And if they go from golf to the pool, you got to go down to the pool and sign them in for that.
Okay.
Just like you did for golf.
Right.
You got to make that physical effort. So,
I repeat again, we are not opening our
Right.
clubs to outsiders.
Okay,
Never.
right. No.
Not while I'm here.
Yeah, but this one started yesterday or the day before. This
No.
has been going on again since 2010.
Right.
This
We got
isn't
that.
something new. This has been going on
Right.
for a while. It's
Right.
making money for the community,
Right.
so therefore it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Thank you.
Hey there.
And by the way, these are going to be the last two comments, okay?
Okay, so I just want to make sure we all are on the same page.
Right.
As of now, you have to be, or you can be 45 years and older, and coming bowl in our lanes and get an open lane. Is that correct? Okay. So if you have underage children and grandma and grandpa bring them and they stay, that's okay too, correct?
As long as they're card holders, yes.
Right, as long as they're card holders. So I guess I'm kind of concerned because are you looking to change the 45 to 16? I don't understand what you're looking to do.
No, that's a policy. All we're trying to do is pretty much define what the responsible adult age is and what neighboring communities is. Those are the two questions that are before us.
So the neighboring communities would be not surprised because it's not a 55 plus.
Well,
Surprises all over the place.
The policy does not say age-restricted communities.
Right.
Well,
That's-
maybe
That's
that-
the differentiation we want to make.
Okay. And then my next question to probably Greg is, when you do leagues, do you have one league that's just all non-residents?
I happen to have a sheet with me on that. We do have leagues, other age-restricted communities that do not have a bowling alley. They choose to bring their people here and bowl in our community, bring revenue to our community,
Correct.
and use our facility. There are residents in those leagues. I'm not going to tell you, it might not be a 70-30, but they do not say we can't have a resident in their league. Like Festival, for example, generated a league from Festival and brought it in. They come, bring their revenue, they use our facility, but they don't say we can't have residents in that league.
Okay, so my next question would be, do those leagues get, I mean, how do our residents?
Anybody that's is a non-resident has to pay for a card in addition that a resident does not have to pay to bowl in the facility and to bowl in the league,
And how much
besides
is
the
that?
lineage.
And how much is that? $45 a year? Okay.
Yep.
But, so for leagues, I mean, if we have one league here that wants to be on a league, let's just say Tuesday, and you have a non-resident league there, who would get precedence over that?
Residents. You can't have a league that's not, we're not going to have a league that doesn't allow a resident in it.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm
The
asking if
residents always take precedence.
residents always take precedence.
Correct.
And you can verify that for us as a league?
Correct.
Can we see all your leagues to make sure that?
We have a sheet that will show the breakdown of the leagues and how many residents and non-residents are in them.
Okay, perfect.
Mark Shorman, 13812. Just the part of, a couple comments were made on fees that we pay annually and the rec center, or the bowling alley and the golf leagues. Our rec centers that we pay are whatever, $500 a year. Those are going to be for us. Those are always going to be for us. And other facilities from outside, they're not going to be taking these over. I know I've only been here a year, but that I see this here and it's not going to happen. But our golf league, as April had just said, you got people coming from outside communities, are golfing 16 and above. It's revenue for the community. And she made the comment that it's future golfers. I've been a bowler since age 10. And bowling is a dying sport. I mean, they are struggling to get participants to bowling leagues. So at some point, I support some type of rule for the bowling alley, whatever is going to be set, to have outside residents and have youth bowl, whether or not it's my 40-year-old son bringing his kids, getting them to know the sport, because bowling is a dying sport. Leagues in my hometown, the leagues are dying. The houses used to be full. Now they're not even half full. So I support this decision. I understand we don't want this community to be overrun by 18-year-olds, 21-year-olds. And just get back to the part of a responsible age. The company I work for, the actuarial department, they set is they actually classify an adult at 25. So based upon their rates that they set for their premiums and stuff like that, I just want to throw that out as a responsible age. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry,
Back to you, Lisa.
Sorry, my mic wasn't on. So thank you. Before I ask the committee what their thoughts are on this, I'm a little curious, and I'd like to just maybe by a show of hands, see what sorry, oh, I apologize for that. I turned my cell phone off, but my watch was not
She's
off.
late for Lizard Acres.
I am. I'm late for Lizard Acres happy hour. That is something that is near and dear to my heart, Lizard Acres. So, but I was thinking maybe by a show of hands that I could ask you all what you think an appropriate age, responsible age is. Do you think it's 25? Start at 18. Oh, you want me to start at 18, Carl? Okay, so that's what I'm saying. That's where I was going with that earlier. So, okay, well, we're just going to do this. Let's see, 18. Okay, let me. One. We're going to go then to 25. One. Your hands up high, please. Because Karen is, you only get one vote. Is there, so there's two? Four. Oh, four. Okay, I'm going to let Karen do the counting. And then we're going to go to 35. Let's do that one again, 35. I got 8. 8. Okay. Then we're going to 45. Oh, Lee moly. No, you get one vote. So do you. All right, people, you just stop. 1, 2, 3.
30 plus.
We're good. It's by far a majority.
It's he works here. This is his job.
All right.
Carl works here. You got, Karen, what'd you get?
It's a majority.
Okay, right, okay. That's what I thought, okay. So, Joe, what are your thoughts on this? Where do you stand regarding responsible adult?
I could see anywhere between 25 and 45. My question to the community would be the example that the gentleman brought up of his 40-year-old son or daughter and the resident having to check that person in but not stay with them, and that 40-year-old child bringing their children, who will now be unaccompanied by the card holder. Like it or not like it?
Right, right.
Okay.
But we have to have rules and policies in place, and so.
I'm struggling with not allowing that because I am sympathetic to the same gentleman who gave the example that we would be shutting off future bowlers who couldn't come and use facilities. Granted, that's not what our 30 lanes were constructed for. But I see that angle and I'm sympathetic to that.
Okay, and can we please not yell from the audience? Thank you. Okay, Jim, what do you think?
I think defining a responsible adult is a you just can't do it. Yeah, it really is. It's undefinable. What is a responsible adult? I've seen 35-year-olds on drugs laying in the alley. That's not a responsible adult. Age does not define responsibility to my way of thinking. I'm sorry, but I don't know how you would do that, but I know that if the Sun City West Rec Center card holder signs somebody in, they are the responsible adult. Yes. They will be responsible for anything that happens, to my way of thinking.
Since responsible is somewhat of a nebulous term, why can't we just restrict it to age?
Hold on, right now, we're in the middle of polling the committee.
Okay,
so
sorry.
Hold on 1 second.
All right.
Thank you, sorry. So, Cheryl?
Okay, the 45-year-old for the tournaments and leagues is absolutely, I think, correct. That's the way it should be. The responsible adult, sorry, everybody, I would start at 18. You're being checked in by a Sun City West resident. Their name, they are ultimately responsible. And if somebody can go to war at 18, they can damn well bowl.
Thank you, Cheryl. Janet?
I'm in agreement with Joe in that one of my questions is if you have a 40-year-old person being checked in by the resident and they have children, why would the resident have to stay? So that's where my question lies. Sometimes people couldn't physically sit in that bowling alley and deal with the noise and just sitting there for hours while their grandchildren were being entertained. But I also agree that it's very difficult to set something like a responsible age. And this is where the dilemma falls. If I had to be pinned down to an age, I think I'd go with the 25. You got to be 25 to rent a car, right? Some level of adult responsibility, because in all of this talk about age and responsible adult, we're trying to get this broad policy, but if something actually does happen, that opens up another can of worms. But I would not like to see the resident be forced to stay with their adult children, bringing grandchildren for some entertainment.
Okay, thank you. Greg, do you want to weigh in on this since the bowling alley is your domain? I mean, I really think.
No pressure.
Well, I mean, I think,
I have to agree with what was said earlier there. I don't know how to define a responsible adult. I don't believe you can define a responsible adult. We all know that. I think a lot of times common sense has to be utilized. We're not trying to not allow people to bring their grandchildren in to bowl, and I'm not saying you guys are saying that, but to define responsible adult, I don't know how to do it. I'm not going to try to. I think when young children are brought into the bowling alley, that they have to be supervised at all times. They need to be, I mean, they could get hurt. There's things that can happen. They just need to be supervised. I don't think, there's a problem with that. But I don't know how to have a defining age. I'm sorry, I don't.
okay.
Well, then there again, I think we should go down the road of age and not try to define responsible, because we never will be able to do that.
Right.
So why can't we decide on an age, or you guys decide on an age and propose that to the board and leave it at that? Because we could be here all day talking about responsible. 18-year-olds, like you say, are responsible. 6, 7-year-olds can be responsible, and like someone else said, 90-year-olds can be totally irresponsible. So I think we should go down that road and remove that term responsible, if possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think one of the things, the discussions I had with Tim prior to the meeting was he expecting the committee to make any recommendations today coming out of this meeting? And it was absolutely a hard no, because we had not had enough discussion on this. And this information was just handed to me on Monday, and I had not had enough time to even do enough research on any of it. So I don't feel comfortable putting my committee on the spot today to force them to make any recommendations to the governing board today. Tim, your thoughts?
I do think it's going to take some time to consider all the options. Something just occurred to me as everybody was talking about the age, and then I told you not to ask me, but I'm going to volunteer anyway. At 25 years of age, that person could have a 7-year-old, right? They could have a 5-year-old, and they could be the grandchildren of the owner member. So I think 25 is a reasonable age. So, but this is going to be discussed at the other committees too. It's got implications for other committees too. So, and it will be addressed at the board.
Okay.
So, and the board is the one who makes the final decision.
Correct. Okay.
And I appreciate everybody's comments. It was good hearing it all. Thanks.
So we're going to move on to 402 Lizard Acres update. And Joe, do you want to go ahead and do the Lizard Acres update?
I will be brief, or I will try to be.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong one. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Joe. I got a little up one. Greg, you're on. I'm sorry. It's you. I went to the wrong one.
Yeah, I think I pretty much touched base earlier on that. I'm sorry that Lizard Acres is doing good. We're booked all the way through the end of July. The entertainment is going over well. People are dancing, listening to
Okay,
music.
hold on 1 second. We're going to kind of let the room clear
got it.
out. I think we have people leaving, and then we'll let you talk because it's a little noisy. Yeah. Let's give it 1 second. All right, I think we're good. Go ahead. Thank you.
No problem. The pub's doing well. Everybody enjoys being in there. The music goes over very well on Friday nights. That's the busiest night of the week. As I said earlier, we're booked all the way through the end of July. We haven't booked August, because of the closure. But we already have people asking about booking in September. So the pub's doing very well.
Okay, so Friday night music through July is all booked, you said, right?
Right.
Sorry, I'm trying to take notes.
The radio station also got with us.
Right.
Our radio station, on Saturday nights, they're doing a program for dance music. And they asked if they could play the music in the pub and people could have somewhere to make some room and dance. And they're actually set some dates in July that we're going to put out and advertise, and so are they, to get people to come in and dance on Saturday nights in the pub, which I think is a great idea.
Okay. And when is that going to start?
July 1st.
July 1st?
Right.
Okay.
The more dates we make available during the week for that type of function, then the pub will be more successful.
Agreed.
If we have, if we have a Friday night dance going on now, if we had something going on like maybe Tuesday night.
Tuesday night, I think we're still doing trivia, are we?
The trivia was just canceled for the summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had trivia and karaoke there.
Karaoke still happens 2 Saturdays a month, yes, sir.
Okay.
But I mean, if we just expanded that a little bit, I think it would help.
I agree,
Help the
absolutely.
pub a lot. And-
Absolutely.
And we'd have, especially on a Friday night, because that kind of interferes with some of the other dances that go on in the community. So, I mean, if you
Yeah,
just gave them another night, my 2 cents.
Yeah, good suggestion, Jim. Thank you. I was hoping Joel would stick around, so maybe he could give us a brief synopsis on the Saturday night music thing, but I think so too, but he scooted out, I guess, so we'll go ahead and hopefully he'll come back, and I'll talk to him and maybe he can come with us something to June's meeting. And so now we'll move on to 403. Now you're up, Joe. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Karen, thank you. The subcommittee has looked at a conceptual renovation idea for the current Lizard Acres Pub space. For those of you who don't know, we started out considering possible expansion, and that was nixed for various reasons. So the diagram you see on the slide is a concept that we have looked at and feel has a lot of advantages. It's not even, the chisel isn't even out, much less something chiseled in stone. So, but this would be the concept that so far the subcommittee has set on as the design, if you will, to move forward with. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Joe. So, so first we're going to go to the committee members for some comments. So, sorry, go ahead and stay there. You don't have to leave. You can stay there. It'll be really quick, I guarantee you. So, Joe, the question that I have was when we talked, y'all must have changed this around a little bit. Joe, Carl, or am I holding the diagram wrong? I'm trying to do one of these, because when we had talked originally, I was with Carl and Greg, and we talked about the darts being like right to the left of when you came in the door in that section. Okay. Got it. Got it. So I just want to make sure, but, well, I opted not to be there because Tim and I have had many discussions about, the committee chairs.
So when we were talking business for other reasons in the Sports Pavilion, we were brainstorming.
Yeah.
We had the darts where the old bar was.
Right.
But the connotation of that would be safety. So if somebody was throwing darts at an entry, it could get dangerous. And honestly, the flip-flopping doesn't change anything
I like this.
that we're aware of, unless you have some other idea.
No, but I like this
Okay.
setup because it looks like you've got some bench-type seating in here.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
And you'll see that the count represents very closely to our current average Friday night business count, with still an open space for opportunities, whether it's, a small form of entertainment, a little bit of dancing. But the most important thing in this diagram is, I think the question was asked to refurbish the bar. So you can see that's a central long wall format.
Mm-hmm.
And from the rec center's perspective of safety, you have ADA compliant access to all tables and walkways in that space. So that was the most important thing, where when we get busy on a Friday night and folks want to casually move the tables as they see fit, you're opening us to opportunities of unsafe conditions. So it's important that we see it as it is. The seat count is reasonable to what we have as in business, and that there's still some multi-function space.
Yeah, this looks great. Thank you. Yeah. Any more comments from the committee? Okay.
I'm sorry I missed the last meeting. I was under the weather. But was it discussed maybe moving the darts and the Wii into the pool hall? I know we had discussed that earlier. Did that come up at all? That's the only thing I can see with the diagram.
Joe, I don't think it came up.
It didn't come up at the subcommittee meeting, but it did come up at a prior one, and my personal feeling would be, this is a concept that could be something that we could look at as an additional change. I would be.
Would that increase our occupancy?
It wouldn't change your occupancy. It would just create an area where there's no dart throwing, and it would be our choice to put more tables or leave it as it is.
Well, that would change your occupancy then if we put more tables in. That's the only thing I'm looking at, is to give us a little bit more room without the expansion.
That area wouldn't, that size of space, that dart layout of, I think darts are played with an 8-foot space to the TV. You get 2 tables, so I don't think it's going to change architecturally wise the occupancy.
Okay, and the Wii's got benches along the side, so we're not really losing anything there.
Yep, and those are mobile. So like, during the week when Wii is actually played, those benches could come out, people could sit, so.
So it probably, the cost override to move all the pool tables and do all the moving and everything probably wouldn't be advantageous.
That would be an extra addition.
Right.
Okay, so we're really not gaining anything by doing that. Okay,
No.
thank you.
Thank you. All right. Super. This, have you been able to put any cost to this at all? I'm sure you didn't want me to go there, but.
Nope, it's okay. I mean, these are the facts of life. You have to, come to some form of consensus. So yes, I did. I sat down with the committee and I created a spreadsheet, and because this has not got any direction yet, is why it's not being presented today.
Right.
But I do believe the project costs somewhere between $200,000 and $225,000. And what that includes is all construction, bar renovation, some design elements so that we just don't have a vanilla and plain bar, a little bit of a ceiling ornament, if you will, if that's what's, the dollars approve. The furniture, all the equipment for bar taps, refrigeration that would need to change because of this. GC expenses, profit and loss, a contingency of about 13% is, I think, what I wrote down in my form, just for the unknowns.
Okay.
So, based on our discussions, we saw areas where we could trim from the middle ground of 200,000 to 225. So right now, if I looked at my form, I was probably at, I think, $215,000. So.
Close enough.
Okay. Does the committee have any plans to meet at all anymore, or are you just looking for direction, Joe?
Direction.
Okay. All right. Let me have some conversation, and I will give you direction. Okay? So, any comments from the audience? There you are.
Mike Lucas, 111521. You actually mentioned that, Joe. The thing is, you want to remember that the darts have to be 8 feet from the front of the dartboard to the end where they start. That's the beginning point.
Mm-hmm.
So you need 8 feet. Actually, more than that because of the. And also, darts is a sport that is usually played in a bar.
Right.
So if you take it out of the bar, you really kind of kill the effectiveness of darts. So just things to keep in mind. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Gary Zarek, 139800. My question is, we are so busy with open bowling on Saturdays and closed on Sundays. Is there any opportunity to revisit that? Because pre-COVID, I believe we were open on Sundays. Saturdays are waiting lists only. It is so busy. And if you buy the resident, non-resident bowling cards, some people still work for a living. And Saturdays and Sundays would be their best days to practice. Closing on Sundays really limits them for the card. So question is, would anybody consider reopening on Sundays on a trial basis just to see if it worked out? Because when it's 110 degrees outside, a lot of people would rather come inside and bowl in an air-conditioned building rather than stand out and melt playing golf. So it's something that maybe could possibly be looked at, along with opening the Lizard Lounge on Sundays. Maybe that's a 12 to 6 kind of, at least take a look and see if it's even worth it. I mean, we're looking to generate revenue, and we're closing down facilities that may generate some revenue. So just an idea, you guys can talk it over and decide. I mean, I haven't lived here that long. I've been here 10 months. And I know that pre-COVID we bowled here, and they were open on weekends, and then all of a sudden after that, they started closing on Sundays. Sundays would be a really nice thing for people who work and have those $40 bowling non-resident cards that they could come in and utilize the facility. If we're looking for people to bowl and add some revenue, there's a lot of people out there that have those cards that would probably utilize them on a Sunday. The Sunday before we closed down, I came in at 2 o'clock deliberately just to see who might be here. 20 of the 30 lanes were still having open bowling, and 9 o'clock in the morning, they're already on a waiting list. I mean, and that's, anybody that bowls a lot or on weekends knows Saturdays and Sundays, if there aren't a tournament, if you get in here at 9:30, 10 o'clock, you're on a reservation list, you're waiting for a lane. That's how busy it is.
Okay.
So, maybe something to look at. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, no yelling.
No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You didn't see me back there.
Okay, well, yeah, let me, okay, well, okay.
You lost your pen, by the way.
Oh, somebody took the pen.
It's a goner.
Okay.
I see one, but I'm not.
Carl, either you or Bill have a pen you can put up there? Thank you. Because somebody stole the pen. Also, can you give me 1 second to kind of
Yeah.
Because I'm not quite sure where you're going with your comment, but.
You have an idea.
No, I don't really know, and we are kind of finishing up the subcommittee here, and so I need to move to committee comments, and oh my Lord. She should know I'm in a meeting. And then we'll open up to full comments for anything.
You want me to go sit down?
So, no, stay right there, because this will be quick. Okay, go ahead, Janet. Brooke.
Just one quick comment with the design for Lizard Acres and the ideas. I'm not a bowler, but I do play pool. So I wouldn't really like to see Wii and darts being shifted into the pool hall. So just one quick comment, so.
That's dead. It's dead. Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be advantageous anyway, according to what Carl's saying. We wouldn't gain
Yeah.
any extra occupancy or anything, so
Yeah.
without doing a full expansion, it makes no sense.
Right.
Okay, that's good, because space in the billiards hall has been kind of threatened over the course of time,
Right,
and
Right.
it has been, and people who do come and shoot pool are pretty loyal to it. And I do have to agree with the comment on Sundays. I do miss not being able to come in and utilize the facilities on Sundays when it's hot. It's a nice place to get together with friends, and so I do miss not being able to do that during the summer.
Cheryl, any comments?
I play darts, so I like the dartboards where they're at.
Okay.
So, and this is a really good design over the last one. The committee did a really nice job.
Great, thank you. All right, Joe, anything? No, super. Okay, now we're going to be open to, wide open for your comments.
Okay.
Thank you for waiting.
Certainly. Lauren Johnson, 123923. Is there a way that we could put that, the format of the pub back up? There we are. There we are. I was kind of committed way back when to start the darts and try to get the darts going, and that's where I'm coming from. We had so much business, we had to get a third dartboard. We are now, there are times when we are almost pushing people away because during our nights of throwing darts, there are so many of us that we're using all three boards. We were almost getting ready to ask for a fourth board when COVID hit. It was getting that big. We're getting to 30-some people. COVID hit, it's died down. It hasn't come back yet. In this illustration, with darts coming back, let's say, there doesn't appear to be a place to put a fourth board. That TV, or I don't know whatever that is on the wall. What?
It's
That's
Wii
a Wii
bowling.
bowling? Okay, so yeah,
Yes.
so. Okay. There isn't any way for a fourth. And certainly where we were, down there by the exit, there wasn't a place for a fourth board down there either. So that was there too. So I throw that out there, that it could get big enough. Right now, looking at the table setup for the darts, we use, right now, we will use 6 tables. 1 dart board, we play teams of 2, 3, and never 4. We play teams of 2 playing 2, that's 1 dart board right there, and 1 table. So in this illustration, we would fill and maximize and overflow not being able to sit close to a dartboard and, watch what's going on. I propose that if there is a way, if this is done, there is a way to put a TV set above the darts. So people sitting on that far right side where the bar used to be can see what is going on with the dartboard and watch the scores and stuff like that. You don't need an expensive one, I was talking to Barry this before we got to COVID, and we tried to do it in the old location, but because of the header, couldn't secure it up well enough. It came out to be financially approximately $130 per dartboard to buy a monitor and to put it up there and to have it secured to work. So financially, it was a go. The reason for doing that right now, if you are watching your team throw darts, there's no way how you can dodge around to see that little score area on the dartboard.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you did have the monitors on top, the whole world can see what you're doing. And having the...
Do you think maybe you can get with Joe and
Certainly.
talk to Joe about that?
Certainly. The last little bit is the hours that have now been created for this summer.
Mm-hmm.
We throw darts Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Starting at 3 o'clock, we cannot play on Friday. You cannot play on Sunday. You cannot virtually play on Tuesday or Thursday. Tuesday now has been eliminated because that's not going on. So, but we've eliminated 2 of our days off where we can thoroughly not even virtually come in and throw darts. So here we have paid all this money for all these dartboards, these wonderful things, and not getting to do it. Oh,
May I?
Of course.
The presumption of your time frame to play darts, is that based on the Lizard Acres pub hours?
Yes.
Are you saying that you're not being allowed to play in there prior to the bar opening?
True.
And that's
Yes.
been expressed, or?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
that's a discussion I'll have with Sports Pavilion staff, because it's possible that the room is available for your use.
Okay.
The bar is not available for serving.
That's fine.
Okay,
That's
we'll have
fine.
that discussion.
That's fine. So if we
Thank
could
you,
go
Carl.
back to,
Thank you.
if we could go back to 11 o'clock, that would be wonderful. Also, the card players that play in there, I have seen 4 or 5 tables on Monday. They were in there at 11 o'clock, ready to play and do their dominoes and stuff like that. So they wanted me to kind of push for an 11 o'clock time, if possible.
That's something that Greg and I can talk about, room hours versus active bar hours where we
Right.
actually have staff.
Yes, so if you could lock up the bar, so, some people, so it's all secure, whatever, they don't need alcohol, they can always buy something down the way. So that was really it, is increasing the opportunity. Okay, thank you very much.
And I thank you, Carl, because I was at an event on Sunday and I certainly got an earful from a dart player on Sunday, so.
My name's Patrick Giles, 120181. On the bar concept, obviously it's going to be a lot larger than what we have now. Is it going to be just a beer and wine license, or are you going to expand it to liquor license too?
It's going to stay the way
Okay.
it currently is.
That's what I figured, because a liquor license is a lot more difficult to get.
Correct.
Second question is, on your sheet of today's agenda, it talked about this as a bar/restaurant. Is it going to have food in there?
Joe?
No is the short answer.
Okay.
Well,
So it's
Joe,
not going to be a
hold on.
restaurant?
Correct. The original charter, if you will, for the subcommittee was to look at that as a possibility. And that was quickly determined to not be feasible. Does that answer
Okay.
your question?
That bar is going to be a lot larger, and I think the goal of the success of Lizard Acres going forward is to generate revenue to pay back that $250,000 for this revenue. I don't know what's going on with the restaurant there in the bowling alley. They close at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Somebody comes in for a beer. There's nothing in there for them in the way of popcorn, peanuts, anything. I don't know if you could have a discussion going forward, because I think this is going to take a little bit of time, that it might be beneficial to have at least discuss something going forward to generate a little bit more money.
Go ahead, Carl.
So just to help everybody understand a little bit about Mimo's Restaurant, currently the owner is going through a very difficult time with staff. Please be aware of any comments that you see on social media. We do have the means of seeing them just like yourself, and most of them are not true. Due to unfortunate circumstances on maybe why you would release a staff member has triggered, them losing a lot of staff members. And in today's times, it's very hard to fill those positions. The owner has been in communication with us a lot about their intention of rehiring. They actually put a new staff online, and shortly after, a couple of the new staff left. So as of today, their operations Monday through Friday are till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and on Friday they stay open later for the fish fry, but are closed on Saturday and Sunday. We are working with them and their understanding of what they're trying to do so that everybody's clear. We're being patient. They do have a year left on their contract. I do believe that the owner will try to make great improvements in their staffing and get themselves profitable and back to full staff. So I just want everybody to be aware. They are working hard on trying to get back to the memos that we always knew supported us. The information that we got from the subcommittee is really important because the owner actually took the time to come and sit with us on that subcommittee, brought food, gave us opportunities to taste what bar food would be like. Had, I think, 5 or 6 different pizzas. And then followed that up with a great presentation on, supporting our Lizard Acres initiative, and then a private owner of a restaurant trying to support their profitability initiatives. Could you see the possibility that a great pizza night at the bar for our benefit could interrupt the profitability of a fish fry for their benefit? So we had a great dialogue on how, running a restaurant and supporting, us as Lizard Acres Pub and having a social gathering space. So it's not an easy support system for the owner of Memos to support Lizard Acres. And then we have the food side of it. You can't just have food laying around Lizard Acres. You have to have food folks that work for us that have, serving licenses or training. There's just so many dynamics that right now, from the subcommittee, we couldn't come up with a great way for Memos to currently support Lizard Acres from a food dynamic. We are working on it, but right now there's no real plan in place for that.
Great. Thank you, Carl.
got it.
Appreciate that.
I appreciate that too, because I knew her husband very well, and I wish her all the success there. And if something can come up to increase her revenue down the road and help Lizard Acres, I think it would help everybody.
Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it. All right. Super.
Julie Redland, 403-520. I just have a whole problem with this layout.
Oh.
If I'm sitting at that end of the bar, I don't want to be sitting with the band right in my ear. Not only that, how is that bartender on that end going to be able to hear anything that I'm ordering with the band playing? And you have 20 seats around that bar. I'm wondering if you've talked to any of the current bartenders, because I don't see them wanting to walk that distance back and forth to try and wait on their customers.
The plan is to have 2 bartenders and 2 cashier stations. Is that correct, Carl? So currently, it is a definite problem with being able to help on Friday nights to get everybody served. The line is very long.
Yeah.
So that's the plan.
So where would the line go? Are you going to have a
Well, we're
designated
hoping
place?
that there won't be a line because we're going to have 2 bartenders
Well,
and.
they're still going to be coming up to the bar to order.
Right. So, Carl, I'm sorry, I think you're going to get your steps today. I think
Sorry,
you should
Carl.
just stay at the podium.
So most important, this is a concept. So, I think we're getting some positive buy-in. The concept idea on this bar is 20 seats. I think our current bar holds about 15, 14, maybe a little less. There's not much point in building a new bar with only 14 seats. So I don't have any space to really change that in its size and ADA accessibility for both staff and patrons. So you are going to get that close. I mean, if we shaved off, 1, 2, 3, 4 seats, we'd be down to 16, and you basically gain one 6-person table and width from the distance from that band setup. Truthfully, I've been to the bar on a Friday night visiting after hours, and is this really our large band entertainment venue? Should we scale down a little bit? So, these are part of the thought process of the committee and the Sports Pavilion committee, subcommittee, and regular committee. The key here was expansion of the bar. I think we solved that with, anywhere from 7 to 10 seats. Everybody wants a dance floor, so.
Did anybody consider more of a horseshoe bar?
I had the original concept from 2 years ago with like kind of an arch. It just takes up more room space and kind of hurts the ADA walkway. So between the 6 tops and the little round circled 4 tops, that's a 5-foot ADA circle that needs to stay that way for any patron that comes and visits. Due to not being able to expand, we don't have the opportunity for a second entrance other than we have the appropriate egresses, meaning emergency exits.
Is the band over there because of the doorway?
That's correct. So, I mean, the band potentially could be where the dartboards are, and you could put the dartboards where the band is, potentially. You could shift it in that direction, but you wouldn't want dancing in front of the entrance of the door. So, what you got?
After shuffling things around, no layout over layout, I think this was the best concept.
I mean, I'm certainly open. There's nothing in stone here.
No, but
I just think it makes it, part of the reason that people sit at the bar there is because you can talk to everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, minus when it's band night, but everybody's sitting around that bar because it is the shape it is. People can talk to each other from any place they're sitting. Here, you're all just going to be facing the wall. Not a pleasant thing.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hi.
Hi, my name is Chris McLeod, 133202. I'm just here to say 2 things. One, I'd love to see a jukebox in the bar.
We've been working on that for about 1.5 years. It is the most frustrating thing.
Because I just think when there's
Yeah.
no band, it'd be nice to have some music that you can choose and not
Yeah.
have to worry about what's playing on the radio at the time. And the other thing I like
I
to
agree
say
with you.
is Greg had brought up that it's members are first served as far as the community goes. Well, sometimes when you have a band, there's like more than half of the bar is consumed by people from festival or the Grand, depending upon what the band is.
Right.
And I think they should have to pay a cover charge.
That has been brought up more than once,
And
and
because that's part of our benefit of paying the $500 that we pay for every year. And they should have a cover charge, you know,
got
whether
it.
it's $3,
got it.
$5, or whatever. I think
The-
that would be a way of bringing up
got it.
revenue.
the problem with that is because it's public, and so we can't charge them a cover charge. And most bands have a big following, so they're coming there to see their band. And so because it is a public facility, we can't charge them a cover charge.
Will you charge a different fee for people who bowl from outside the community compared to those that do? And you also
Right.
charge
Yeah,
people?
but we're not charging them to come into, we can't charge them to come into the Lizard Acres Lounge.
Then maybe they have to pay more per drink. Hey, you have to show your ID card to get a drink at the price for, it's just a way to, I just don't like the fact that we have these facilities that we pay for out of our budget.
I guess certainly the board can discuss that.
I mean, it's just an idea.
No, absolutely. I think
And there's no
certainly the
pen
board
here.
can discuss that,
Can
yeah.
I
Because
steal your pen?
this has been brought up more than once, and we keep, discussing it. But I don't think anybody ever made the comment, charge them more for a beer.
You charge them more for an alley, you know, to bowl.
Right.
So
So,
just a
What
thought.
would you do when, you know, you bring your non-resident friends in here and they say, hey, Connie, go get me a beer?
right. Now
You
they
know,
want
what-
you to
what's
go
the-
buy the beer for them.
Right.
You know,
And
the discipline, I know, we could throw this idea
I know,
around.
this is that's the kicker, is now you're there with them and they want you to go buy the beer for them, and it's like, oh my God, this is like, we're on that vicious hamster wheel, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we did discuss, you know, expansion, and
We have nowhere to go.
so here's the dirty facts of it, folks. If we wanted to expand into the locker room area, which is the only place to expand the bar, period, lockers and everything gets displaced,
Down and dirty.
it triggers a county code that we don't have enough bathrooms in the facilities. And there's no way of adding bathrooms without a building expansion. So we are talking from $200,000 some dollars for a cool bar expansion, make it look nice, bigger seating, to we are in the millions of dollars for a room, you know, demoing rooms, moving lockers, possibly affecting billiards a little bit, or putting all the lockers up on the concourse, and then a building addition for bathrooms. I cannot avoid it. It's county code. Because we're grandfathered, we are good. But as soon as we trigger an expansion, right now our occupancy and size of this room does not trigger anything. So these are the hard facts about construction, is that we're just old enough that we're out of date, and if we do something expanded, it triggers more bathrooms to the new code and policies. So
the subcommittee, we decided that we're just going to go this route instead of that route, which is, you know, into the million revenue area. We don't want to go that route. Yeah. Yeah, Tim would probably say, don't bring this to me. So, okay, hi.
Mike Lucas again, 111521. Those chairs at the end of the bar, you're only going to use those, the only time that will be a problem is on Friday night when the band is there. So I don't think that's a major problem.
And my guess will be is they're probably going to be occupied by people with the band. So they're probably not going to be a problem.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. The other thing I'd like to bring up is that the Sunday thing, when we came here 11 years ago, we did have Sundays were available, like from 9 to 7 or 8. And we used to bowl a league there in the evening on Sunday. And it was utilized. There were a lot of people that came there on Sunday. So I really think that we really need to consider reopening on Sundays. Okay.
I'd like to mention too that, I don't know if you're all aware, but the NFL has recently taken away the NFL Sunday ticket from DirecTV. And there is no decision been made at this point about how to repurchase that. So, you know, these are things that we have to discuss over this fall season that's getting ready to get to us real quickly, and we would have these kind of things in place. So Right now, you can do it as a YouTube TV individual in your residential home, but that's not available to us in a streaming format as a commercial business. So we're a little bit in limbo there. So.
Right. Okay, super. If there's nothing else, Carl, anything else? No? Tim, do you have anything?
I do
No.
not.
Bill, do you have anything? No, okay. I am going to adjourn this meeting. 3:20, thank you, Karen. Meeting adjourned.